delicious cake and fillings, dreamy buttercream frosting, and fun decorations. Let's make these easy Valentine's Day mini cakes. I'll start with the 3 steps to make each mini cake and then move on to the decorations and designs. So, step 1, prepare. I'm using cupcakes to make these mini cakes. The recipe is in the video description. Unwrap them and cut each one in half horizontally to make 2 cake layers. I like tall cakes, so I'm using 3 layers for each one, which means with 6 cupcakes you can make 4 mini cakes. Or just make 1 or 2 or 3 and freeze the rest for another occasion. For the filling and frosting, I'm using my 4-minute buttercream, a mini batch, and that recipe is in the video description too. You can add any ingredients you like to flavour this, it's so versatile. This is dulce de leche, a thick caramel, and these are freeze-dried strawberries crushed up to make a powder. Add a bit of milk if the buttercream gets too thick, or more sugar if it gets too thin. Now let's make these Valentine's Day mini cakes. Spread a bit of buttercream onto a cake board and press your first cake layer onto it to attach it to the cake board. Now add your filling and alternate between cake layers and filling to assemble your mini cake. Chill in the fridge for 30 minutes or the freezer for 15 minutes. Step 3 is the crumb coat. Every cake needs a crumb coat. It's a thin layer of frosting to trap any crumbs that come off the cake. It doesn't need to be neat, but it does need to completely cover the cake. It's easiest to do this when the cake is cold, which is why you chill it first. When the crumb coat is fairly smooth, put the cake in the fridge for 30 minutes to set, and then you're ready to frost and decorate. Now for the designs. For this first Valentine's mini cake, tint buttercream pink or whatever colour you choose, and frost the cake. Get it as smooth as you can by scraping around the cake a few times, and then spread more buttercream over any gaps, and scrape again and again. I like to switch to a metal cake comb for the last few scrapes, and warm up the edge with warm water or a blowtorch to get the smoothest frosting. For the top, swipe sideways with an offset spatula, all the way around, wiping the blade clean in between. Next, you'll need a piping bag with any open star tip. This is a 4B, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. Spoon the leftover pink buttercream into the bag, push it down to the end, and here's the piping tip, with lots of short prongs all close together. Work your way around the top of the cake, holding the piping tip just above the cake and squeezing to push the buttercream through the piping tip. Letting it bulge a little bit over the edge of the cake, and then stop squeezing and pull the bag up, and the piping will pull up a bit, pulling away from the edge of the cake so it's perfectly positioned. Before adding a message, the cake needs to go into the fridge for at least an hour to set the frosting. These are sweet stamp letters, and you push them into the frosting to leave an imprint, which you then paint into. Push each letter gently into the frosting and push it at the top and the bottom, left and right, to make sure all of it has imprinted in, and then pull it away. You're aiming for a shallow imprint, just deep enough to see all parts of the letter clearly. I'm using edible gold paint for the letters, but you can make your own by mixing edible gold luster dust with a few drops of any clear alcohol, like vodka, or a clear flavour extract like clear vanilla or lemon. A small paintbrush that's quite stiff is ideal for painting these little letters. For the fire emoji, I'm using yellow buttercream, microwaving it for 5 seconds to melt it slightly so it's runnier, and then I can paint it onto a piece of parchment paper, shaping it to make the inner part of the flame. I'm tinting the leftover pink buttercream red, and mixing that with the leftover yellow to make orange, and painting these colours around the yellow part of the flame. This is a buttercream transfer, and you can use any non-stick paper like parchment or wax paper or baking paper. Wipe off any smudges with a toothpick or a clean paintbrush, and then press the flame against the cake, pushing it gently to attach it. Put the cake into the freezer for 10 minutes or the fridge for 30 minutes, and then peel the paper off, and voila! You are fire! Another emoji cake next, the heart eye emoji. Starting with yellow buttercream to frost the cake, and once that's smooth, put the rest of the yellow buttercream into a piping bag with a small star-shaped tip. This is a tiny number 16, but a number 32 or a 199 would work too, any small star. To pipe a border, hold the tip just beside the cake, resting it on the cake board, and squeeze the buttercream out, and then release your pressure on the piping bag as you swipe the bag away from the cake. You'll make a textured bead, leaving a little tail behind it, which you'll cover up with the next bead. Put the cake into the fridge for at least an hour to set the frosting, and then make some stencils using parchment or wax paper, drawing 2 hearts for the eyes and a smiling open mouth, and it's best to do this with the cake beside you so you can check the size and the spacing. Cut the shapes out of the paper, leaving the paper around the shapes intact, and those pieces of paper will be your stencils. Position the first one on the cake, press it against the cake, and then spread buttercream over it and smooth it a few times to take off the excess and leave a thin, smooth layer behind. Then peel off the stencil. Put the cake in the freezer for 5 minutes or the fridge for 15 minutes before you do the next stencil, so you don't damage the first details. If the buttercream smudges as you pull the stencil away, use a toothpick to gently scrape off any smudges. Ta-da! A heart eye emoji cake for Valentine's Day. This next one is really fun. Pipe little hearts onto a piece of parchment or wax paper on a cutting board or tray, using a small star-shaped tip like this number 16. Lift them up and put them into the freezer for 10 minutes while you frost your cake. When the hearts are frozen, you can pick them up and press them gently into the frosting on your cake. To skip the freezer step, you can pipe these straight onto the cake. It's just a bit trickier to pipe them sideways rather than down onto the paper. These Valentine's Day mini cakes are the perfect size to share, and they're best enjoyed at room temperature. So if you make them in advance and keep them in the fridge for a few days, take them out about 2 hours before you serve them, and that way the cake and buttercream will be soft and they'll taste their best. Get the recipe on BritishGirlBakes.com and visit my cake school to learn hundreds of cake decorating techniques and designs. Sign up for a free 7-day trial of my All You Can Cake membership for access to all of my courses, so you can try them out. See you there!